What's up, YouTube? Use your right hand. Drill sergeant here. And I'm outside of the studio. I needed to take a walk. Things are getting kind of heavy. You saw me talk about what's going on with the Voting Rights Act. You may have seen me talk about, the people that are so far left that the only people they can attack are on the left. And it's ridiculous. It's just getting annoying. What word you're using here when you know the person is for you. That purity test and perfection will destroy any chance we have of fighting the people who are actually Nazis, who actually are gung-ho and taking away voting rights of black people and then poor people after that, who can't wait to have black people as slaves again. If you don't believe me, just go in any TP USA message group in any college campus in America, not just the South. On the other hand, Ana Kasparian. On the other hand, and she's not why I had to come outside the studio. I mean, this is what's expected of her. Now, she's just, the rabbit hole is just, it's a shit stain where she is. It's just a brown spot on the ground where she stands. I'm gonna play what she said in case you haven't heard it. If you have, you know what to expect. I'm gonna give some commentary after the Vanguard gives theirs. Vanguard, go check them out. They're really good. But let me play this. And I have a different take. A very personal take. But I'll let them talk. Let's listen.
Protest era, a period of time that I remember quite well. I don't think I've ever seen larger, bigger protests in Kansas City, more intense protests in Kansas City than during that summer. Zach and I participated in those protests. A lot of crazy shit we saw. But either way, I'm excited to get Anna's take on this. Pretty wild.
So, for instance, after the George Floyd protests happened and everything, there was this culture of people openly saying some pretty horrific things about, people with light skin. Just open racism against white people. And I know that sounds crazy because...
At first you might think, she might be talking about lighter skinned black folks or something. But then she makes sure to specify, no, I'm talking about anti-white.
Understand this. The main reason why she said light-skinned people first is because as a Armenian, she likes to be able to be a person of color whilst having white skin and getting the benefits of that privilege as well. She loves to have it both ways, which is why she finds herself on the fence so daggone much. Remind yourself of that. That's why she said light skin first. Had to clarify because she realizes that now she's just going all out KKK racism. But remember that's why she said that. Having the cover of being a POC, a person of color, while speaking and getting the privileges of white skin.
Racism. That's what defined the George Floyd era.
Right.
Definitely not police brutality against black people or racism against black people. No. The most notable theme from that era was actually the anti-white racism. That's what I remember.
Imagine that being your takeaway. It's unfathomable because one of the real takeaways, and we've discussed this on the podcast, the George Floyd protests were one of the more formative political experiences of Gavin and I's entire lives up until that point, right? But one of the things that I think was truly inspiring by all of that was the fact that it was a real effort of communities blending together, right? It was white people saying, hey, fuck, we do need to have more people's back when it comes to the police. This is unacceptable. This man just...
I'll stop it there because that is the main point of the Vanguard. The rest of what Anna says is just as stupid. Because the thing about the George Floyd protest was there were white people all over the place, there, standing in solidarity. I had friends who stood in solidarity of the George Floyd protest after seeing the boot on his neck for 9 minutes or something like that. I had white friends, and when you find out that her entire interview, she had absolutely zero instances, examples, data points. None. This feeling that she has that all of a sudden people were just allowed to say anything bad about all white people was absolutely ridiculous. What happened was we were allowed to see what horrible white people had to say when they laughed at his death. And the good white folks were standing with us. And that brings me to my point. My take is a little bit different. My take is a little bit different because in this time, 5 years later, 6 years later, that's all it took. White people and white old friends of mine have been disappointing. That's why I'm outside. This is personal. You see, I'm not disappointed in Ana. I've known that that's where TYT was going, and I have been putting out videos about her and her foolishness and her ridiculous progressiveness. That's not progressiveness. It's just cowardice dressed up in a woke dress while not knowing what the real meaning of woke is. She doesn't disappoint me. As a matter of fact, she never disappoints because exactly what I expected her to do, use the privilege of her white skin while claiming the oppression of a person of color is what she does. But I have friends who I've played in bands with, white friends who 6-7 years ago would be out there marching with me, that have told me today and in other days such things like, the SCOTUS didn't take away any of your rights, they made it more equal. I was going to show you the screenshots, but I decided not to. Not because I don't want to expose Phil Hutchinson, for turning MAGA after supposedly being an ally, but because I can't even read them without getting extremely upset. It's the disappointment. It's not the anger. The same person who would sit with me, break bread with me, who said they can't believe what they saw. The truth is, many of the same white people that were standing with us couldn't believe what they saw because they didn't believe us when we told them it was happening at first time. And when I talked to Phil and I said, my man, you know me. I'm telling you that what they did was they made it so that you, as a black person, have no more black districts, even though you're 30% of the state in Tennessee. And he said, it's not just about black people. It's now more equal. What about Asians? What about Hispanics? And I said, motherfucker, the rights that we're fighting for were the ones that we fought for, why they can exist here as well. We're the ones who got it to that place. And you still haven't listened. You don't listen. I said to him, Phil, they're literally pausing elections for the first time in America just so that they can get rid of the black voice. That doesn't scare you. No, that's not what they're doing. They're just trying to comply with the law. And I said, so you're making it more equal, huh, Phil? You're making it more equal. You're making it more equal. Isn't it funny that whenever the white guy, man, says, I'm making it more equal, what's more equal for the white guy always ends up being I get no more voting districts where I am, the black guy. That's what, every time it's more equal for you, it's less voice for me. Isn't that funny, Phil? Your boy? Your friend? Isn't that funny? Every time it's more equal for you, I get less rights. Isn't that funny, Phil? As your friend? Isn't that funny? That we lose all of our districts and you happen to get more equal? The fuck are you talking about, Asians? Every human right that has been given to anybody in this country is because we fucking fought for it. And the same dude who fought alongside me, death, I almost forgot